Welcome to Brothers-In-Flaw Sports. I'm your host, Normie. We have our other host, Cunado. Down below, we have Santana. And we got a show for you tonight. I know there's somebody on this panel that's not going to be as chipper as I am. But yeah, Super Bowl recap.
I don't want to talk about
it. Oh, man. But we got our season's over. We've crowned a new champion, a back-to-back champion. So yeah, y'all just want to dive right into it?
I guess we might as well.
We can talk about a lot of things, really. The weather was real nice today. Did anybody see how good the weather was?
It was real nice. It was actually nice on my jog today that it wasn't, super cold and I have to bundle up and 3 layers.
Let's dive into that. Tell us more about that. So most of the time you're talking like 3 layers, maybe. If we're going over under, we're sitting at 3. But here lately, you've been able to get out with less than 3. That's good. Tell us more about that.
Well, I got my Under Armour long sleeve, a loose fit long sleeve with that, and then I've got the long pants, sports underwear stuff, plus a pair of shorts. So
that's
and a hat.
That's pro move right there. That's a pro move right there. I think that's the way to go.
Those long pants things, I
Game changer.
always thought they were kind of weird, but honestly, I may use them during the summer because I love those things.
Yeah, game changer.
Yeah, they are a game changer.
All right. Well, it's been a good show. Love you guys. Good to see you.
Well,
all right. Obviously, Santana, do you want to talk about it first? Do you want to just chime in?
I may be quiet through the whole thing, or I may talk like a whole lot. So you go. We'll see where it leads us.
I'm kind of coming into this show a little bit blind. I'd like to have done a little bit more reading and research, but I did watch the game. First off, hell of a game. I mean, I'm super sorry for you, Santana, for the result and whatnot, but at least by the end of it, both teams can say that they played really well. And obviously, there's controversy in any major contest like this, especially with it being the largest game in American sports of the year, and then specifically this year, I think broke records. Which did Taylor Swift have something to do with it? But probably. There's a lot of stuff that got broken with Taylor Swift just being present and or part of the shenanigans that were the NFL this year. But the game did not play out how I thought it would, as far as how we kind of all three talked about that it might be predicated on the run game. It really wasn't for either team. And then you kind of think that it's going to be the first quarterback that would blink as far as mistakes go. And neither of them made that egregious of mistakes. In fact, the one who made the most egregious mistake is Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. But obviously they recovered and the Chiefs win, and back to back now. We'll see what happens next year as far as the first time to three-peat in history, if they can or can't. I'm not pulling for it, obviously. Let's go Rams. But it was, other than I watched it with Santana, it was an incredibly enjoyable watch as far as it looked like two really good teams playing one another. I was heartbroken for our boy down there. Because it was rough. I mean, I've been on the other end of that twice in my life as a Rams fan to the Patriots, and now we don't have to get into it this show specifically, but How close is KC to the new Patriots? I don't know. We shall see. But I know that it's rough. But overall, I think that it was the better team just didn't have the experience that, in my opinion, I'm not trying to knock any Kansas City Chiefs players or anything like that. I think still, and I think I said it last show, San Francisco is the most talented roster, top to bottom, at least of the 2023/2024 season. But they ran up against a team that has just kind of been there, done that, and I think that matters. And that's my overall take on it.
That was a damn good game. Like, you're talking about, and I'm not as big an NFL fan as probably y'all two are. I'm more college, but the Super Bowl is the effing Super Bowl. Like, it is the biggest game. And the two best teams were in that game. And this was probably one of those better games just from top to bottom. You know, there has been an overtime game before, with the Falcons, but that was just, it didn't have the same feel as that one. This one felt like a back and forth, just slugfest. Those guys were hitting each other. Like, I watch football all the time. I watch football pretty much year round. In the spring, I go and watch it live. And I don't know, I can't remember a game where I've seen like that much hitting and that much just hard nose, aggressive, just man going out there. And it was such a good game. I was pulling for San Francisco the entire time. And even at the end of the game, like my wife was just like, are you okay? Because I had this weird feeling like, and honestly, because San Francisco is really not my team. I was just pulling for them. I've pulled for teams in the Super Bowl before. They lost. That bring up that Falcons game again. But just this one, it was just like I was so disappointed it was over. Like I wanted it to keep going like another 4 quarters because it was just such an amazing game. And I was so disappointed that like, oh, it's over now. I mean, man, just looking at like, you don't expect to see like just the fumbles in there. Like there were seven total fumbles in the game. Like that just doesn't happen in the Super Bowl. And that just shows you just how hard they were hitting and just how aggressive they were. And I don't want to say it's the best Super Bowl I've ever seen, but it's definitely the best Super Bowl as far as game wise that there's been in a couple years. Now I know like for you, Santana, it's probably wasn't the best Super Bowl, or for you, Cunyato, and the Rams one, that was probably your best Super Bowl. But for someone like me, doesn't really have maybe a favorite team, just like watching it, it was a great game.
I can acknowledge that for somebody that doesn't have a dog in the fight, I can definitely acknowledge that was a game worth watching. I think at one point in time, I turned around to the people I was watching it with and was just like, shit, what a game, just because it was that type of environment. First off, I think that both sets of fans, like the stadium was loud, everybody was loud. It just, it felt intense the whole time.
When both sides, when they had the ball, the stadium you could hear it like both, and it was just, the fans were going crazy for either side.
I think they're two of the better fan bases, not just at their home, but traveling fan bases. And they showed up, and you could hear it on both sides. And that's what I have to say about that. So it was a good game. Great game. No, realistically, Kenyatta knows this. Normie, I'm sure that you expected it, but I've had a pretty rough week, and I'm not, trying to be over dramatic when it comes to a football game. But I talked over the past couple of weeks about the pressure that this franchise and this fan base has to be feeling, and so for it to end the way that it did, just I know I come across as overly biased and kind of full of shit when I say this, but I think that if Christian doesn't fumble on that opening drive, I think we beat them by 2 touchdowns. Just the way that first drive happened, and then the fumble. But before the fumble, it was like at will walking down the field.
Mm-hmm.
They get the ball, and the way the defense responded right after that, it's like, okay, if that offense could show up all game and that defense could show up all game, and obviously that shoulda, woulda, coulda, ifs, ands, and buts, but I mean, it was just one of those. Take all of what I'm about to say, because I'm about to go through my bitching about the game itself. But take all of what is about to come away, no matter what you see, saw, or thought about that game. We ran into Patrick Mahomes still, like after everything, which is what I said last week. I said I wanted it to come to us pursuing Patrick Mahomes as far as pass rush goes, and I got my wish and got beat because of it. But where Kansas City at, and we can get into this in a minute, but where Kansas City at is in Kenyatta, you and I have talked about it a few times. I think we've talked about it on this show, all three of us, but you looked at Nick Saban for a long time and thought we'd never see anything like that again. And then Kirby Smart went to Georgia, and not that he's matched Nick in any kind of way, but like you kind of see the same type of development, right? Very similar here, where we looked at Belichick and Brady and thought we'll never see that again. And then sure enough, right as that goes by the wayside, here comes Andy Reid and Mahomes. There's so much that happened in that game that feels like just bad luck, San Francisco way. We can get into the missed holds. We can get into the punt off the foot. Dre Greenlaw's injury, which I think is maybe the most impactful situation. That was Normie. Have you seen? I asked Kenyatta this earlier, but Normie, have you seen the like mic'd up on the sideline Fred Warner stuff after Dre Greenlaw got hurt? He's basically in tears, and I told Kenyatta earlier I thought that if I'd seen that during the game, that I would have just gone ahead and said, "Okay, that's it." Which, when it happened, I mean, that guy is one of the better linebackers in the league, and for him to go down, that's a major deal. So when it happened, I had already kind of in my head gone, "That's whoops."
Not only to go down, but just the way he did, like
coming into the game, excited to come into the game. Yeah, and he's an impact player for San Francisco. He is a momentum changer and a rhythm setter, and one of Fred Warner's best friends and closest confidants, and like they thrive off of one another. And Fred is the quarterback of the defense. He is the vocal and just leader overall, just example type leader. And for him to be so hurt by that loss, it kind of, if I'd seen that during the game, I think that I would have just gone ahead and chalked it up to, we're not going to make this happen. Like our cornerstone is broken, And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that they, as a team, rallied around the situation or whatever. But that was a major loss, like a huge loss for the defense specifically, but for the team overall. San Francisco didn't protect well towards the end. I mean, for the most of the game, like Brock Purdy played really well. I thought Christian played well. I thought it just from first half to second half, it seemed like we couldn't protect and seemed like we couldn't get open. But anyway, going back to it, the takeaway from the misfortune that was San Francisco's night, and just thinking about where Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City is right now and where they are going. it doesn't matter who. Like I would pencil them in next year too, right? Like aren't we all in agreement that more than likely the AFC team will be, or the AFC will be represented by Kansas City?
I mean, it's tough to say no to that, given what they've done so far in his 6 years of starting.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes, that is. It wouldn't shock me if we see a rematch next year of these two teams. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't love it because the Rams rebuild has gone faster than I imagined possible. So, obviously,
Swimmingly.
swimmingly. But no, as far as this one goes, obviously a lot of this, and we can get in on this on later shows. Top to bottom, I still don't think that there's a roster that really matches up with San Fran. And we've used the word pedigree ad nauseum now, just throughout our show for the 4 or 5 weeks we've been doing it. I'm not saying that it even showed itself that much, because obviously either of those two teams could have won. It's just the only way that KC even stays in the game, in my opinion, is because that experience / pedigree. Because, I mean, San Fran is just absolutely stacked, and hopefully they can retain most of those pieces and come back and do something like that for you again, Santana, and put you guys in a position to close the deal, which just seems like keep on knocking on the door, and hopefully eventually it opens. I don't know. None of us will ever know. I mean, I don't want you to feel like an early 90s Bills fan by the end of this run.
Or at least a 2000s Eagles fan. That's where I'm sitting at right now.
Which a lot of comparisons have been drawn to early 2000s Eagles, Andy Reid, to this version of Kyle Shanahan so far.
Well, Kyle has done it without a Donovan McNabb level quarterback,
or a Terrell Owens level receiver.
Yeah, Thank you, Normie. Absolutely. He did it with those guys. Shanny hadn't done it with guys like that. I think that Brock may be that level, and then I think the pieces around him are all better than what Andy ever pieced together in Philly as a whole. But it does feel like that. Like we keep getting there, can't get over the hump. The difference is I hope that the York family is not whoever messes around with Philly and fires future Andy Reid too early. Like let's a lot of here's my, and I was going to bring this up later in the show, but while we're talking about it now, my biggest issue after the loss is, yes, the loss sucked, and I talked about how much pressure we as a fan base felt, and the team has to be feeling. So yes, it sucks that the actual loss happened, but one of my favorite things about this team and about being part of this fan base is this close-knit feeling. There's a very familiar feeling when it comes to talking about the team in and of itself and how fans feel about the team. And there's just been this, which, I mean, it's the day and age we live in. There's internet discord all the time, but for just the turning on Shanahan specifically has bothered me. There's a lot of internet trolls calling for Shanahan's job. I'm like, are y'all idiots? Do you not watch the past, I don't know, 20 something years? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, would you not rather be in the NFC Championship every fucking year than not be in the playoffs at all? Are you freaking like? So that's where I'm at. Like, let Shanahan do what he's doing there. I would rather be heartbroken in February than be heartbroken in December. You know, like I would rather feel the way that I felt this week every year. Thank you. Yes, year in and year out, you get people being like this, but like, why? I mean, we just heard from the Lions fan. Like,
yeah.
Would you rather spend your life as what the previous Lions have been, or make it to the NFC Championship every year? Like, don't fire what's good. We've got what's good. Like Shanahan will get over the hump. there's another thing about he can't win the big games. Well, he's 8-4 in the playoffs. 2 of his losses have been, or his 4 losses are in the major games of the playoffs, but he's also won 2 of he's won championships. He just hadn't won the big one. And he's come in, again, the Kansas City buzzsaw, the Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you saw it at the end of the game, like when San Francisco kicked the field goal in overtime, I think that everybody in the country knew what was about to happen. I think that everybody knew. The fact that it happened with 4 seconds left in the game is fucking insane. And the fact that a lot of that drive happened with, I don't even think that we should talk about holding. Like, I think that should just be something we as sports fans just eliminate from our vocabulary at this point.
I do understand the coach thing because the past 3-4 years now, there have been some crazy Alabama fans who said that Saban needed to be fired. It's stuff like that. I'm just like, are you like? I'm the same way. Like, how dumb are you? Like, this is Nick Saban we're talking about. Like, who's gonna replace him? Like,
well, and for me, it's like at least within. I mean, it's been 17 years for Saban being good. But it wasn't that long. So like there's, 17-year-olds who have no idea if Alabama is supposed to be winning champions, or they only think they're supposed to be winning championships and not missing playoffs and such. But San Francisco, we're talking 6 years ago, guys. Like that. I mean, it went from 2001 to 2012, and then 2013 or 2014, whatever, on to Shanahan got hired. Like, we have lived through some garbage, and to wish away there with Kyle Shanahan as head coach, very similarly to how I feel about the Rams with Sean McVay, and similarly to how I now feel about Dan Campbell and the Lions. Cody, talking to you, these teams are going to be around, like Pittsburgh, Baltimore level of be around. So like, even if they don't make it over the final hump, like, your team will always be in the playoffs. I would rather my team always be in the playoffs than fire Kyle Shanahan. Like, it's a ridiculous take. It's a ridiculous take. Should, bud. Absolutely should.
No, it is 100% a ridiculous take, especially since he's Shanahan, that is, has taken you guys to 4 NFC championships and 2 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, the mountain to climb, unfortunately, is the Chiefs, and that's what's been the bugaboo now twice, and an injury against the Eagles, and some weird ball bounces against the Rams. And obviously skill is what gets you there, but luck is the thing that takes you over the hump. And that might be the thing why I would get rid of Shanahan, is because he seems like the unluckiest MFer possibly in head coaching.
Between injuries and some of the shit that's happened in some of these games. Yeah,
exactly. Like, he doesn't seem to have luck on his side, but as far as like actually being able to get you in that position, he's second to none. He's second to none. Like, the only person he might be second to is Andy Reid right now in this day and age of all 32 teams. I wouldn't even say that he's second to Andy Reid, though, because Andy Reid has that guy, just like Bill Belichick had Tom Brady.
Well, and I think that we have our guy. Like, I think that Brock is going to be a consistent, like, he's going to be up there every year with Pat, Josh, Lamar. Like, I think that we're going to be talking about Brock in that category. I think that Brock didn't play poorly. Like, Brock missed some the throws that I saw Brock miss. It was because he was getting fucked up. Like, we were not protecting him the way, and this is where I will bring holding into it, and Justin saying that, like, regardless of the holds, Kansas City protected Mahomes. And I'm just looking at the stats right here, the sacks. Brock was only sacked the one time, it says, and Mahomes sacked 3 times. It wasn't the sacks. It wasn't like them going to the ground. It was what Brock had to throw against. Right there towards the end,
11 QB hits on Brock.
Yeah, and he, I mean, it showed there. I mean, he was
Mhm.
throwing in the face of bright red jerseys. Like that's
6 passes deflected.
yeah, which and there was some that going back to what there seems to have been some implosion of in the San Francisco ranks. There's been offensive line infighting, and Brandon Ayuk doesn't seem happy, and the fans are mad, and this, that, or the other. But talking about the offensive line, it just did not protect, and it's because Kyle has made an important priority on the defensive line. It's been priority for the defensive line to be as good as it can be, because he, again, kind of how he's been with quarterbacks in the past, his system can make up for the lack of talent at certain positions. And that's true. That is absolutely something that he can do, and it has done. But now we have gone to the Super Bowl twice with less than stellar offensive lines, excluding Trent Williams for this most recent Super Bowl. He's maybe the best offensive lineman to ever play. But overall, the line has been less than compared to the rest of the league when it comes to protecting the quarterback. So maybe this year, because we do happen to have, because the rest of the roster is so good, maybe we have some luxury picks where we can spend a whole lot on the offensive line and protect this guy. Because I do think that our guy can. Is he going to be Patrick Mahomes? No, but he'll be, I don't know, Peyton Manning. Like if Mahomes is Brady, then he can be Peyton Manning. I do think that he's that caliber of player, and I think that he showed that this year. And I think this roster, even if he isn't that, this roster at least helps him to play that way.
100%. Like
There,
with a
there
year
wasn't
and a half
anything.
of starting, his record is it
Yeah,
speaks for itself.
second year starting. I mean, picture this guy in 6 years. You know, as long as we can keep him upright and keep the pieces around him, and not even these same pieces, just keep the pieces, you know, worth having type of situation.
Yeah, consistent pieces.
Yeah, consistent pieces. Thank you.
But going to that Kansas City side, I think this team right here though is one of those like statement years for them, especially this playoff run for them, because the first year having to go on the road playing the playoffs, and even like in the regular season, they just didn't look like that team, and then playoffs hit, and it was just like that switch was flipped, and it was a whole different team. And that comparison to like Brady Belichick, like to me this year for Kansas City really reminded me of some of those teams that they took to the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl with, that you were like, you thought that they weren't even they were lucky to even make the playoffs, much less win a Super Bowl. And I think this year was one of those like statements of, yeah, they they can match up with Belichick and Brady's.
Yes, it was a down year for Patrick Mahomes. It was a down year for Travis Kelce. It was a down year for the Chiefs. They still won 11 games and won their division. It's like, oh, it's a down year, and they still dominated their division, climbed through the playoffs, went to the Super Bowl and won it. And then also, you know, going back to, or just specifically with Kelce, he still almost had 1,000 yards, which we've talked about recently. That's a very similar to Brady and Belichick thing. Like, oh, they're not the Patriots this year. They're not the Patriots this year. It's so easy to say. LeBron James goes through the same shit. It's like, oh, he's old. He's LeBron James, and he still like averages 40 minutes a night and 35 points a game. It just because once you've set a standard, you have to reach that standard all the time, or it doesn't. You're having a down year. So the narrative said, yes, the Chiefs were lowly, and they come in and then do whatever, but they were still the Chiefs, and I think that's the thing, is like you're whoever it is, whether it's the Packers next year, the Rams next year, whoever it is, the good chance they're going to have to face Mahomes. I love Andy Reid. Like that's the thing about this too, is that I hate that we have lost the Super Bowl the last 3 times that I've witnessed the Super Bowl. I hate that the last 2 have been to the Chiefs. I hate that like everything's set up very similarly to 2019 for this most recent one. I hate it. But man, I really, really, really do love Andy Reid. You know,
Yeah.
he's a teddy bear. He's funny. He's one of the best offensive minds in football. Again, going back to those Eagles teams, like I loved those Eagles teams. Donovan McNabb, Brian Westbrook, and then when T.O. joined, like I loved those teams. They were so fun. A lot of the reason I wanted to coach was watching Andy Reid. Like I liked everything about Andy Reid. So I love that he's winning Super Bowls. I love that he has turned his team into a dynasty. I love that he's doing this. But like, retire, bud. Retire. Just like because I love Mahomes and I think Mahomes will be great without Andy Reid, but Andy Reid's one of those guys, you know. Cody, I've got your Patricia comment noted too. We'll get to that here shortly.
Well, what Kenyatta is out. We can actually go through it right now, real quick. So Cody asked, side question related to Lions coaches: why does Matt Patricia still have a job? Where is he at now? Currently, wasn't he?
He had been on the Eagles.
Yeah, that's right. He was on the Eagles because after being an offensive coordinator,
Which was, again, like that's something we can talk about extensively on how one of the greatest coaches of all time just allowed, or just that's a folly. Like that's a whoopsie doozles, you know, picked a whole bushel of whoopsie daisies,
and should have known to begin with, like, and should have found him something else, especially with a young quarterback like a Mac Jones, who's still trying to come into his own, and
you may have broken. Yeah, you may have.
I think it did. I think Mac Jones is probably done.
Oh, I mean, and yeah, I don't want to. I hate saying that so early of any player's career, especially with what he showed at Alabama and what he showed in his rookie season in New England. And I don't want to be any type of like naysayer when it comes to stuff like that. He's still in Philly because that's what I was wondering where he actually is, but yeah, for Mac, like yeah, I do. I hate saying it so early, but he's gonna need some rescuing. They're gonna let him go this year, and he's gonna have to go. I don't know. He's gonna have to build confidence back up. But
hey, I know of a great opportunity coming up here actually fairly soon. I think the training camps are starting. It's either this week or next week. I think they have to report. So great opportunity. Get game time snaps.
I think that it would benefit him a lot
and push his confidence back up a little bit. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Now, I have heard rumors that he is kind of a diva. I don't know how true those rumors are because it's NFL players and they're all freaking divas, or the most part divas. So I don't know. I don't know how much of that I believe. I know when he's at Alabama and he just seemed like a guy that just didn't really like take himself too seriously. Like I always pictured him like he's just like he gets the ball and he's just back there and it's boom boo doo doo doo. Oh, receiver's open and throws it. Like there's like during the play, like he's not thinking about anything except what's going on like on the field, like nothing else. And because even when he messed up, you rarely saw him get mad. I think one time when he threw a pick in the Georgia game that year, he got mad at himself one time coming off the field. And I think Saban caught him real quick, gave him one of his Saban chats, and then you never really saw anything. But I think his confidence has been shattered. And I think that Matt Patricia had a lot to do with that. And, and Bill Belichick.
I was going to say Belichick.
Overall,
Belichick
had
overall,
a lot to do with that.
100%. The sophomore season for quarterbacks in the NFL is supposed to be the year that you see the most growth. And if you have not only change and drastic change in the way that it was, because who was it? Was Bill O'Brien their offense coordinator that year? Who or no? He just left. Who was offense coordinator for their rookie year? Was it McDaniels still?
I think it was McDaniels.
Okay, so you have Josh McDaniels, regardless of how bad he is as a head coach, which he is continuing to prove over and over. He is a really good offense coordinator. So you have that guy, highly respected offensive mind in the league, and then he leaves, and then you have you end up having two different defense coordinators, because I think Belichick's son was the other guy that was messing around on the offensive side of the ball that year. Screwed him up. So O'Brien comes in this year to try and rectify the situation, and he may be too far gone.
Yeah.
And then now, even if Belichick had stayed, O'Brien has now moved on to Boston College. Well, and so it would have been a change again at coordinator.
I think by the time Bill O'Brien got there, too late. I think by that time it was the fans were already against him. Pretty much everything, the coaches all but pretty much said, like, we have no faith in him.
Well, and that's the thing too.
The owner really didn't have much faith in him.
Sure, and that's another thing too, is you can't in out. Like,
yeah.
Because they drafted Bailey Zappi the year after.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both too young. So now you've ruined two, like, who may have had, whatever their potential was. Now you've busted them both, because every time they do something wrong, they get yanked and the other one goes in. It's no way to build a stable quarterback room for sure. And rumors in the draft area is that they're looking to move out at 3. So I don't even know if they're going to draft a quarterback this year. I don't know what the plan is. Or at least at 3. I don't know what the plan is.
Yeah. I think the Dan Campbell QB confidence building rehab center would work.
That would be a hell of a backup for Jared for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Cunyato is back.
Yeah,
so
sorry about that, guys.
What do you think about this Chiefs year? We kind of talked about how, like, I kind of compared it to those years Brady, or that kind of like a statement year for Kansas City. Pretty much on the road all the way through the playoffs. Regular season, they had a lot of stumbles throughout this regular season, but they make it to the playoffs. They take care of business, and brought a team that wasn't as good as what he's normally had, and won a Super Bowl with them.
In a way, I haven't done my research on this. I actually think it's more impressive than what the Patriots did, because they took down the greatest show on turf with, a very young Tom Brady who wasn't asked to do much in the very first Super Bowl against my Rams. And obviously that team was stacked with Hall of Famers. But a lot of the teams that they played up until when they became the powerhouse that they were aren't necessarily teams that you would think greatest of all time type of teams. Once again, I might be speaking completely out of my ass on this one. So as far as a statement goes, Normie, I 100% agree with that. That is kind of a statement. They did it against, if it's not the greatest roster I've seen, other than maybe the Patriots in their undefeated season, it's a top 5 roster I've ever seen in my lifetime that I can remember. And obviously, sorry again, Santana. I know this sucks to relive all of it, but it just it was easily the best roster in football, and well coached. And it's not like they didn't perform. They all played incredibly well. ball bounces this way, that way, or the other.
Mhm.
McCaffrey, who is not a known fumbler or anything like that, has one that, like Santana was saying, that could be the momentum that carries San Fran to a 2-score victory.
That punt
And
goes a
then
little bit further.
so yeah, like it just bounces off. I can't even remember which blocker it was that came off his ankle. If Ray instead of like Ray McLeod, that is, instead of like trying to like kind of scoop it up, just falls
Oh,
on it.
I forgot about that.
Um,
Oh, and I was
there's just
screaming at the TV, and my wife's like, "What? What is it?" And I was like, "He should have just fallen on the ball. He tried to pick it up and run. Just at that point, you just got to fall on it.
well,
That's
in
that's
initially
punt
when
return 101."
you're
The
watching it,
ball
the
won't
fact that
work.
like he grabbed it at all, like we're screaming at the TV is like, "Don't touch it! Why in the hell would you touch it?" And then turns out that's actually really good awareness
Yeah.
that he saw it come off of his player's heel. But on the flip side, like we were talking about, just get on the ball. Like, okay,
Mhm.
you've seen it. Like, that's a live ball now. Just go get it. Start the drive. I think that would have been like the 13 to 14-yard line. Like, just start the drive right there. Like, but it just weird ball bounces here and there. And like I said, skill takes you so far. Coaching takes you a couple of steps further, and then luck takes you to the promised land. And that
Mhm.
is the one thing that I don't know if Shanahan will ever get on his side. I hope he does. I really do. I think he's deserving of it. I think he's one of the top 2, 3, 5 coaches in the league. I think he's proven that. But man, that is an unlucky son of a bitch. Yeah, in coaching, obviously, he's doing just fine.
Oh yeah.
But like to cross that threshold to get to the next phase, um, I don't know. Fingers crossed for him.
But not for next year. The year after, right?
Well, I mean, honestly, never. Quite literally a division rival.
Yeah.
Once he moves on, once they fire him and he goes from his
That's what
proverbial
I'm scared of.
Philadelphia
I'm
Eagles.
really scared. I think that Jed York will hang on to both Kyle and John as long as they want to be there, but it is scary. I mean, Andy Reid was one. Philadelphia was consistently one of the best teams. As a matter of fact, that time of or that time in our lives, the NFC East as a whole was a really good division in football.
Mhm.
Philly was always so good. I loved Donovan McNabb so much. Like that team. If I were a Philly fan and you fired Andy Reid, now I know it gets kind of stale, but how can it get stale when you are like right there all the time? So yes, I am
Mhm.
terrified that that becoming stale type situation happens, and we move on from Kyle. I couldn't see the team being led by anybody else right now. Like this is the most fun I've had being a 49er fan. And I mean, it's kind of a low bar because really I have this and the Harbaugh years. Everything else has been garbage. But right now, like I love the way that the team chemistry. I love the offense. I love the players. I love the system on both sides. I just like the way that it feels. I love continuity. Like I like the guys that are just there all the time. Like I love it. Like this has been my favorite football fandom experience. And so if they were to ever eliminate Kyle, it would absolutely break my heart more than where my heart sits as of Sunday at 10:30 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I once again, objective observer on that. I agree. If they made that move, I would give him at least 3 losing seasons in a row before I'd even start to
Something terrible,
consider something like that.
Yeah.
something terrible without major injury losses. Like if next year we have the exact same roster and nobody major gets hurt and we have a losing season, then things start to get kind of like, well, that's kind of weird. But if next year Brock blows his knee out and Christian blows his knee out, or whatever the situation is, like as long as everybody's healthy and he's winning, we're fine. We should be fine because I think that he's right there. Like he's on the cusp. How long did it take Andy Reid? Now it took Andy Reid getting Mahomes, but I mean, I don't know. I think that Brock is in his second year, for God's sake. Like, is he Patrick Mahomes? No, but I don't know who.
Patrick Mahomes wasn't Patrick Mahomes in his second year.
Right. He was close though. He was getting there, which is where we're
just
at.
right where Brock Purdy is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean Patrick Mahomes lost the AFC Championship to Tom Brady his first year starting. Brock Purdy, his first full year starting, just lost the Super Bowl to Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a pretty good trajectory, honestly.
Yeah.
And then who knows what would have happened last year without the UCL tear for Purdy. I mean, maybe he plays Patrick Mahomes last year and goes down to him then or beats him. We don't know. And then plays him again this year. But Patrick Mahomes' first 2 playoff losses came to Tom Brady.
You know,
in the AFC Championship and then the Super Bowl.
That's another thing that I am perturbed by about watching the game is that I was pulling for Kansas City against Philly last year, so it was fun to watch the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes stuff happen going down the field, right? And I remember watching because they kept doing the like half motion and then back out and throwing the ball to whoever's coming out of the backfield at that point. And I remember at the time being like, hell yeah, they're not covering it. Soft coverage, I would do this until they stopped it. And they ended up winning on that. And then they kept beating us in that soft coverage shit too, you know? And it's not as fun watching it when it's your team, right? And then that last play, like watching Mahomes just rear his hand back. Just why? And then again, we're going to Dre Greenlaw's side there. Dre Greenlaw's not in, so I mean, maybe that has something to do with it. Couldn't tell you. Don't know what coverage we were in. Barely had my eyes open at that point, just because I knew where we were at and what was happening. But yeah, I mean, it's just watching offenses operate, and you know kind of what they're going to do. And for the people who watch like actual film to not kind of have an idea of what was going to happen, that's frustrating. And I'm sure the two of you feel it too, watching your teams. Like you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I knew what was going to happen. I knew that they were going to throw it in the flats and just let somebody walk in. Like I knew that. So why would the guy who's getting paid a whole bunch of money?
Well, and there's also a flip side to it. It's like I knew they were going to try and run the ball with Jalen Milroe. The whole stadium knew.
Same.
The whole defense knew.
Yeah.
And they tried it, and of course they. I have a theory on that one anyway, but
what is it?
I don't think it was a quarterback run. I think if you look at the replay, it was an RPO. The running back's coming out of the backfield. Then they had it because the running back came in motion. He's coming, and then ball snap. He's swinging out of the backfield. The defender was in man. He was slow getting over, and we had 2 wide receivers blocking 2 defensive backs. So we had pretty much 3 on 2.
Coming out of the left side, right?
Coming out of that left side.
Yeah.
So the play would have been to throw the ball to Roydell Williams out of the backfield.
The snap was bad.
But the snap was low, threw it off. Yeah. He had to abort and run it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because... And then Saban being Saban, he doesn't blame his players. He never blamed his players. And all of his years of coaching, he never blamed them. He came out and says, oh, no, it was a design quarterback run. And that be that. But it's like, no, I don't know.
Well, I mean, and he could say that without really lying, too, because it's a design quarterback run.
It's an RPO, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my theory on that one. Sorry.
No, and I mean, we can get into that. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about all sorts of stuff like that leading up to the college season. But I agree. That could very well have what happened because it didn't. I think, regardless of what it was, the snap is why it was a problem. Because I said that whole game, I said all year watching Bama, if you're not making it look like Milroe's going to run, you're not calling plays correctly. Like every play should make it look like he's going to run, pass, quick game, handoff, read option, whatever it is. Like if the ball is snapped, it should look like Milroe may run. Like that's just how you should call a play for a player of that caliber.
And then like you going back and talking about that fumble with McCaffrey, talking about that Alabama game, the Alabama Michigan game. Alabama got the ball coming out of halftime.
I've said this a lot. Yeah.
Driving down the field, running it down their throats. 2 bad snaps in a row. We have to punt. We take care of business there and score. We win that game easily. But after we punted, I looked at my wife and said, "We're going to lose this game because of this right here, because we just gave them life again."
I said the whole time leading up to that game that it was going to be close in the first half, and in the second half, Bama was going to turn it on and do Bama stuff and end up winning by 2 scores. Jalen Milroe fumbles on that one drive, which they were heading down to score. And then the next drive, I think they get a hold or something and get backed up and have to punt. And those were the 2 ones. And after that, it became, okay, now it's back in Michigan's favor. Because otherwise, I thought if it's exactly how I feel about the Christian McCaffrey fumble. Yep. If Milroe doesn't fumble and that it just changes the course. Like they go down and score, Bama wins 10-14 at the very minimum. I think if we go down and score opening drive, and then that Kansas City offense meets the defense that they met after the fumble, we get the ball back with that momentum. I don't think that. I think we win. What was it 25-22? I'd say 28-10 maybe. It really felt. I know that's probably too much. That's too much, especially talking about the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. But that's what it felt like. And I looked at after the fumble. I looked at Kenyatta and Will and said I knew it was too good to be true. Like there was no way we were going to come out and just smack this team around, and that's what it felt like it was about to be. So, and the worst part about all this, and then what gets me so bent out of shape, is that season just felt so long. So much happened during that football season, and now it's just wait till the next one, and it's my least favorite thing about all of this.
You almost feel like it was a waste,
which is ridiculous. We made
no, trust me,
Super Bowl,
I know
right?
it is ridiculous, but I've been there many times, and the first kind of thought is, this feels like a waste. But then after a couple of days, it's like, well, I mean, obviously not. There's only one really way to lose a Super Bowl. I mean, you have to make it there to lose it.
Yeah.
So
and we're second best team in the league, and there's something to be said about that. I guess. But again, it's spoiled. You're a spoiled Alabama fan. I'm a spoiled 49ers fan. We're sitting here thinking the next game, like I'm here all the time. I might as well. That's what's getting me is like we're here, win it. I'm so sick of losing Super Bowls, and that's such a spoiled thing to think about because the majority of teams just don't make it to Super Bowls. Like that's just not a thing for the majority of the group. And so I recognize that it's spoiled. I'm sure that you as a Bama fan recognize that you've been spoiled over the years.
Luckily, I had a year. No, it was after 21 was when I started seeing like, okay, I'm definitely too spoiled. I need to lower expectations here and be happy for what we've done. Like last year with the SEC championship, like I was like, I'm thrilled. We beat one of the better teams, a team that probably should have. It definitely should have been in the 14 playoff. Like,
if you don't beat that team, they may have ended up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, and three-peated.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I
guess
I've definitely come down
because.
And even like in 21 when we won the SEC championship, I bought the hat because I was like, I knew Georgia was still going to go in. And I'm like, there's no way we're beating this team again. This was a fluke game. They're not going to be, they're going to be ready the next time. I better buy the SEC championship hat for this year. And I did because I'm like, there's not going to be a championship hat or a national championship hat. But man, it's a crazy year. Crazy year in both college and NFL.
I was thinking about it earlier just because I told Kenyatta, like, I don't want to do the show. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to rehash it. Like, I don't want to look at the stats. I don't want to, I'm just not ready. But here we are, like, I'm glad to be here, glad to have talked about it, because now we get to go into the fun part of the off season, which is draft stuff and such as that. But also, I mean, what a year. Like, I can't believe that it's over. It feels like such a long season to have started in the same time that it always starts, but it feels like a long time, but also like it was yesterday that it started. So it sucks, and can't wait for next year for sure.
It's also kind of crazy. I don't know where San Fran would work into the analogy or the metaphor or whatever, but as far as the Chiefs and Georgia, the UGA Bulldogs go, we watched Nick Saban and that Bama team do what they did for, call it 16 years over a 17-year career. And we watched what Bill Belichick and the Patriots did from 2000 to 2020, 20 years with Brady and Belichick. And we just didn't think that anything could really even get close to either of those two dynasties. And not that either of them have yet. But two teams on the NCAA level and the NFL level actually kind of have a shot at replication isn't the word, but a similar level of dominance to where you can't count them out type thing. And then once again, I don't know where San Fran's metaphor or their story, and it's an unwritten story.
So, Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State, perhaps. That actually, that works well.
Or maybe Michigan.
Maybe
if we win next year.
Maybe the Colts if they played both in the AFC.
It's bridesmaid. Like it's bridesmaid, never a bride type of situation. Like that's where San Francisco is sitting. Very similar to an Ohio State or Michigan until this year.
Or I would say more Oklahoma.
That's hurtful, I think. that
because Ohio State did win it in 14.
Okay, well, Oklahoma, true, but Oklahoma hadn't played for one in a long time.
But they always won the Big 12 and then
I'm sticking with Ohio State.
That's okay, I'll let you have Ohio State.
But it just.
Oh, and we got Ryan Day. There's a whole lot of similarities. Great play callers.
Both programs.
Bosa related.
Yeah.
They both have a long way to go. Both of those programs that I just mentioned between Georgia and Kansas City have a long way to go before they can be mentioned truly to what those, the predecessors did at the, aforementioned levels. But the fact that they actually have a shot at it, which we've never seen before.
Towards that.
Exactly. They're tracking that way, which is insane. I do think that the Niners still have every opportunity. The NFC has gotten stronger in their youth, but still your best quarterbacks in the league are in the AFC. I was actually telling Santana this earlier. I'm super glad that my team isn't in the AFC because most of your elite quarterbacks play on that side in that conference. And not to knock Stafford, I love Stafford, and not to knock Purdy, I love Purdy. But there's still a wide open path, and Shanahan has gone to 4 NFC championships in his 7 years there, 7 or 8.
Are you asking?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's quite. It doesn't matter. It's somewhere in that neighborhood.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
And it's about the balance of the ball sometimes, and he does seem to have a bit of an unlucky streak when it comes to that. But I'm excited to see it, and then on the other side of that coin, can the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, who's not a spring chicken, can they sustain what they've done? Can they become that next thing? I don't know. We now have another off season and a lot of fun between now and then with off season free agency, draft, and all that stuff to see what happens. Can they start to nip at the heels of Belichick and Brady? We won't know until we know, but they've at least created a fun narrative in that regard, because it really did seem like you would never see anything like that. Once again, at the NCAA level for Saban and the Bama teams, and Belichick and the Patriots at the NFL level, and now we've got 2 programs who I kind of do hate Georgia. I'm an Auburn fan. I actually hate them more than I hate Bama.
Yeah, fuck Georgia.
But you just didn't think that you would see anything that could really rival that, and it took the blink of an eye, and already it's possibly there. I mean,
I also really like that they've actually got like evidence and facts behind them of why they are tracking towards these greatness. It's not just like someone comes in and has done nothing and they're like, yeah, they're going to be the next Tom Brady, and it's like, yeah, Steven Garcia is going to be the next Tom Brady. Wait, what? Like, I don't know about that one. Yeah, it sounds. It's kind of like what watching Paul Feinbaum and the Callers. I can't listen to that show because the Callers call in and it's like South Carolina's going to win the national championship this year. And it's like, I don't know about that. we'll he does do well a lot of times. Like, oh yeah, we'll see. Next caller. But yeah, you actually have this trajectory already going, not just starting baseline and people coming out and saying, oh yeah, this is going to be the next Belichick Brady, or this is going to be the next Saban. Like,
yeah, they're there. Like
they're on their way. They're on the track already, and they're moving down the track. They're not even they've already gotten on the track. They're moving down the track.
Yeah, it wasn't a situation where people like pegged it. They were like, maybe. It was, here it is. Like, this is happening now.
So it's nice to see it, like, and actually, okay, yeah, I could see this. Definitely got something behind this, some sustenance behind it, not just blatantly, shouting out that Mac Jones is going to come back and then he's going to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no evidence of that right now. Yeah, it could happen, but I wouldn't bet on it.
No. And I'm really excited, given our time of year now. It's 5 days removed from the Super Bowl to see where the free agency market for quarterbacks, and quarterback is obviously like that's the gas that fuels the engine for all NFL teams. So see where like everybody lands, and then not to mention the draft, and it's stacked with quarterbacks and a lot of really good talent to see what moves like the needle. Um, but I mean, who's even going to be the basement in the NFL next year?
Yeah, thanks, Browns and Lions.
Yeah.
We thought we knew what the hell was going on. Now you
Yeah.
guys are going to the playoffs.
and performing well.
Yeah.
I don't see Carolina jumping.
That would be the basement in my mind. That's the one that came to my mind as well, Santana. I don't see them making a big jump, which I think is a real shame for CJ. I think he's better than what the situation that he's been given is. But, well, you have to play the hand that you're dealt. I said CJ. I meant Bryce.
Yeah.
CJ played the hand that he was dealt beautifully.
Yeah, I would. The Panthers for sure. I think New England's it's gonna be a couple years coming back. The Commanders with Dan Quinn.
I'm interested to
Talk
see.
about a panic hire.
Well, yeah, but
Or a
he's
lateral
made some
move,
perhaps, but he's made some interesting hires too. So I'm curious about what the Commanders will do. Especially you have the second pick. I think they've already discussed that it's going to be like. I mean, you kind of just assume also that it's going to be quarterback, but I don't think that Sam Howell was your downfall last year.
No.
Just looking at these rankings, I think Arizona should take a probably significant jump. I mean, Kyler didn't play for the majority of the year, and when he did come back in, he seemed to be the Kyler that we all know and love. So, depending on a decent draft class, we can see that they could take a jump. I think that Carolina and New England probably sit somewhere similar to where they're at. The Chargers, I think, will take a significant jump. Like, I'm excited about the Harbaugh era in Los Angeles just because I like Jim Harbaugh, and I think with that, he came into a already built roster in San Francisco and turned them into NFC Championship caliber team. I could see this something very similar happening in Los Angeles. I think Tennessee probably sits right there, falls. I don't know why they fired Vrabel.
The Jets one there is interesting.
Is
Rodgers coming back?
Yeah, Rodgers will be back.
Okay.
He says he plans on playing not just one, but at least 2 more seasons.
Okay.
I think that he owes that team at least 2 after.
Yeah. After what, 2 plays or 3?
And he might be playing on natural grass by the time he comes back. I don't know when that FIFA situation is supposed to happen. The Giants, I think the Giants will tumble. Because I think they're going to lose Saquon. If I was Saquon, they would lose Saquon.
He said he doesn't want to leave. He said he wants to start and finish his career as a Giant. Now, that could be lip service for all I know. I don't know. But
well, I mean, I guess they could tag him too. But I just don't understand why you would if you were him. Especially since a coach who wants to run the football to win games has already said, I want him in Los Angeles. Like he's going to target talking about Harbaugh. What I'm kind of pulling for fantasy purposes. I will draft him before Kenyatta can.
I think the Bears take a tumble too.
Okay, this is my most. I'm so intrigued by what the Bears are going to do at number 1. I think if it's me, I trade that pick or use it to help Justin Fields, and then use the next pick to help Justin Fields, because if Justin's healthy and taken care of, I mean, he's been productive. I don't think that anything about their record is Justin Fields related. They got him a number 1. He got hurt. I've seen a lot of mock drafts having the Bears with their second pick taking one of the top receivers. You add that to DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and the running game that they have there, and I don't know. I wouldn't, but I'm sitting here on a Thursday night talking to you guys, not planning my next NFL GM move. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested. It's an exciting draft. I'm looking forward to talking draft with you guys and then watching the draft because that pick alone is extremely entertaining, interesting to pay attention to.
It definitely is. Let's see. What about the Broncos? To me, the Broncos overperformed this year.
They 100% did, and Russell came back like to being the Russell Wilson that everybody knows and loves, and they're going to let him know soon about what his future with the team is. I don't know what kind of dead money hits them if they trade him or cut him I mean, and so I don't know as far as the logistics part of it, but if you let go of Russ, then clearly you're drafting, I would think, a quarterback, but you're not in a position to draft one of the higher quarterbacks. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's interesting to see what they're going to do there. I think that the bones for that team to be successful are there. I don't know if like the actual engine is there. That's something that we'll definitely see.
Mm-hmm.
Indy, I'm looking at. Obviously, Anthony Richardson should come back, but
Yeah.
we talked about him last week or the week before about his injuries and such. And I don't know. I mean, Gardner Minshew is a free agent, so do they retain Gardner? I don't know. And then if they don't have a quarterback that can stay healthy and get the ball to the very limited weapons that they already have, I mean, where does this have them right here? They're 8. What is that? It's down the line. It's way down the line. There's no number that I can see, but it's way down the line.
Not great.
Not great. I can see that they come further than that for sure.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about the Panthers. They gave away the house for Bryce. Like, and as a Rams fan, I understand it. I've seen it done with Goff and with Stafford. Both of them actually ended up paying off in their own ways. Obviously, one a Super Bowl appearance, the other a Super Bowl win. But Panthers seem much further away from that than those paid off for the Rams. So I don't know. Santana, I know that you know as a Niners fan with Trey Lance that something similar, trading the house. It's just it didn't bite you in the ass because the rest of the organization was sound. The foundation was there.
Yeah, we traded
The
up for
Panthers
Trey when we
lacked
had
the
the
foundation.
luxury to do so. Like
Mhm.
I talk all the time about value in picks, and specifically in that draft when, yeah, there wasn't anything just screaming that we had to take with I think we had the 12th pick before we traded up to 3. Yeah, it becomes luxury versus need, and for the Panthers, they didn't have that luxury. Like you weren't going to solve the problem by taking. I don't care if you took C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud may have gone to Carolina and had a significantly better season than Bryce did. I don't know that. I doubt it really because
Yeah.
who was he throwing to? Who was he being protected by?
Have you seen your offensive line?
Yeah, like and the defense had a really good year. So it's clearly the offensive line and who are you handing it to, who are you throwing it to, and who are you being protected by. CJ Stroud who I loved. CJ Stroud was my quarterback in this draft. I liked him a lot. Obviously I compare San Francisco to Ohio State, so of course I'm favorable to Ohio State quarterbacks. Nothing. Okay.
I got a question for you, Santana.
I gave you a grin.
Yeah.
So we were talking about him earlier, and I remember that draft that they drafted Trey Lance. What were the rumors? All the rumors heading up to the draft that San Francisco was going to get.
Oh, it was all Mac Jones.
What alternate history? Mac Jones gets drafted at that position. Is it the same? Does it turn out the same as Mac Jones and the
No,
Patriots?
no, I don't think that it turns out the same. I think that we may be talking. I didn't want Mac Jones because we had Jimmy Garoppolo, and I really do
Yeah.
think that I think that had everything worked out for Mac Jones, he landed in the perfect spot with the perfect weapons. I think that if his career was to go, I really don't think that he was going to be a difference maker compared to what we already had in Jimmy Garoppolo. So if you make a move where you spend 3 first-round picks to get the third pick in a draft that, for me, we were doing the show then where we talked about the draft, the quarterbacks in the draft. The one that I liked the most was Justin Fields, and that's who I wanted. And then it became like right there before draft that San Francisco was somewhere between Mac Jones and Trey Lance. So then I started doing my like due diligence on Trey Lance. Fell in love with him because I think that he's an intelligent kid. I think that he's a sweet kid. And I think, and again, I said this last week or the week before when I brought up the potential Trey Lance trade rumors, that I think that he's wildly gifted. Like his arm talent is up there with Mahomes. He can do things with the ball that only I've seen Patrick Mahomes do. Maybe Matt Stafford if we're talking just pure arm shit.
Mhm.
So then I was like, okay, well, this is going to be the guy. If he comes to us and we want this guy, then this is going to be the guy. That's fine. So, but just going back in the time machine, if I could change it right now, stay where we're at and try and get Pat Surtain, like that, because that's something that we needed real hardcore at the time and still do. Secondary is our second weakest spot, I would say. That's a offensive line and secondary. That would be where I would draft this upcoming draft. My top 2 picks would be offensive line and secondary. But in saying that, like our guy Ambry Thomas and Mooney Ward, we've got 2 legitimate starters in the secondary now. But yeah, going back in time, do I think that Mac Jones is sitting where he's at now? No, I think he's still our starter. But I also think that he has us in a situation of being in the top 17 guys versus where I think Brock now has us in a top 10 plus situation. And I think that you have to be in a top 10 plus situation to win a Super Bowl. And now with that, in saying that, if Brock goes to New England, does Brock bring a top 10 plus style play to New England? I don't know. Can't say ifs, ands, and buts and who's, what's, and whatnot. But I do think that if Mac Jones goes to San Francisco, I do think we're talking like much better than where he's been. I do think that Kyle brings that type of system that is easy for quarterbacks. I think that his development would be better. I think that he would be operating better. But do I think that he would be operating better than where we're at with Brock? No. But also, like, would I change what we at this point, Normie, like where we're at, because we're here now? It's hard to go back and say, would I change anything? Because we didn't need, like, really need, like, there wasn't a player. Micah Parsons, I think, was taken in that draft, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
If we had taken Micah Parsons instead of a quarterback, then I would be fine. I would say, yes, let's go back and change the system or change the timeline. But where we ended up and where we are like now, it's kind of hard to say, like, yeah, I wish we would have changed, because I don't know that we would have ended up exactly where we got to now. And I am happy with my quarterback situation now, if any of that rambling and made any sense. Because, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like,
No, I
I'm
do.
I'm happy with where we're at. Going back in time, I wouldn't change it because we got here. But also, I obviously wouldn't have wanted to take Trey Lance. I wouldn't have wanted to any of the other quarterbacks either.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons. That's my answer. Micah Parsons is my answer.
Alrighty. Was let's just say Sertan was in that one. Was Diggs in that one, or was that the next year? I think Diggs was the next year.
Yeah, and I'm not actually a huge fan of him now. Like, I know that he's a Dallas guy, but I also just don't. Like, he's clearly good at his job. I don't want to take away from the guy, but I just he benefits. He reminds me of a less good Richard Sherman. Like, I think that Richard Sherman played a specific style of ball that made him just end up where the ball was going to be, which is kind of what you need. I think Diggs has a lot of that. Like, the difference is that Sherman, for the majority of his career, didn't get beat, and Diggs is kind of like, I'm either going to intercept it or I'm going to give up a touchdown type of. That's how I feel. Stats may
Yeah,
not.
that boom or bust.
Yes, and stats may not back that up, but that's just watching in the time that I've watched. And also he plays for Dallas, Normie, so he's
Well, so does Micah Parsons.
yeah, but in a different way, in a different way. Like, Micah Parsons is so good, you can't deny it, and
yeah, he is really good.
And Diggs is like, I'll deny it. I will deny it. Just, I mean, you're a Dallas guy, so.
Oh, well, alrighty. Any final thoughts on the Super Bowl?
We can never talk about it again.
I don't know. Maybe a year from now, you'll be like, "Yeah, let's talk about that Super Bowl last year and how we did better."
I hope. I hope I'm sitting this time next year going, "Hey man, we overcame. Like, look at what we have been through." Well, that's the thing, is like, what I get so sad. Just the last few years. 2 years ago, we have the snow game. You block a punt in Green Bay to win the game. It's like, holy shit! There's no way that this team, like, there's just where there's so much shit has gone on. There's no way that we don't win the Super Bowl this year. And then we dropped the interception with 10 minutes left against the Rams and ended up not going to the Super Bowl. They win it. And then last year, with the multiple injuries at quarterback, like, there's no freaking way we don't win it this year. There's no way that we got to this point and don't win it. It's just been so storybook, and then it happened. And then this year, it's like, all right, well, now this is the year. Everybody's healthy for the most part. We're going in it, yada yada, and it's just so hard to continue to lose in this manner. So hopefully, in the next, I need it soon, man. I just need it soon. Everybody's got one. I want one.
Or just them quit giving you so much hope to be dashed.
Look, and it comes across spoiled when I say this too, because I talk about I just want to witness one. San Francisco is one of the greatest sports franchises of all time, but they haven't fucking been that while I've been a fan, which I guess maybe is my fault. Maybe I should figure out like how to just, I don't know, maybe not watch sports so San Francisco can get back to winning Super Bowls. But when I've spent so much time, like, I fell in love with them because of their history and because of Bill Walsh and because of when I fell in love with them, Jeff Garcia and Terrell Owens, like, what football was. Like, that's how I fell in love with them. And then I researched why they were what they were. And then almost as soon as I fall in love with them, garbage, right? Harbaugh shows up, great for a few years, and then we fire him because apparently he's a dick to work with, even though he went to 3 straight NFC championships and an 8-8 season. They're like, you know what? No, too much. 8-8, not good enough. And so then struggle again until here we are with the Shanahan era. And then even in the Shanahan era, I don't know. We're here. And that's what sucks, is just, I'm tired of losing it. I'm tired of being right on the cusp, having the hope and losing it. And it's a spoiled mentality. I'm sorry for those who don't have teams that have that opportunity as often as San Francisco does at this point. But
I was just saying,
you, Cody.
y'all's teams, make the playoffs. Mine sits at home. Mine gets a fake knee against them in the final game of the season for a touchdown. But maybe the Falcons can do something. I doubt it, but
Hey, look,
Who
talking
knows?
about bones, and I think that for me personally, again, just I'm glad that we did this show to for me. I can get all my shit out, and we can move on from the Super Bowl and get into one of my favorite parts of football season, or football in general, which is draft season. Just talking about that, the Falcons' bones are pretty good. Like, especially if you look at specifically the offensive side
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to 1,000-yard rushers and and then whatever you want to call Cordero Patterson. Um,
Just a beast.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you have talent. Also, just looking at this Kenyatta, I didn't know Van Jefferson was there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, like you have these guys on the offensive side of the ball. Uh, it really needs to you need to find a trigger puller, and I personally, just for the sake of having a super athletic running quarterback run around in Atlanta again, I wanted to be Jaden Daniels.
I didn't know about this. Felipe Franks is a tight end now.
Doesn't shock me. Also, he was playing quarterback there, right?
I thought he was too at one point, but they've got him here listed as a tight end.
He wouldn't be the
Well,
first to make that transition.
Well,
they've all got tight ends when you put those pants on. You know what I'm
but ting.
saying?
Oh man. And then defensive side. Grady Jarrett's still there.
Yes, Calais Campbell, is he still?
Uh, Trey Flowers. I don't know.
I do expect, with Raheem Morris taking over, I do expect some sort of jump for Atlanta. I don't. Again, going back to what I was just saying, that the bones in general are good. You need a trigger puller, and
It's good. I don't know. I'm not expecting much. Hoping for the best, but not really expecting much out of them. But we'll see. Or maybe I should switch back to rooting for the Titans and have a worse season.
that's the thing is that, I mean, it's going to be a shakeup all over the league. Like, just looking at these
Mm-hmm.
teams right here, Minnesota may have a new quarterback. Chicago will have a new quarterback. You guys will have a new quarterback. I don't know what the Giants are going to do.
What the
I don't
Saints are
know
going
what
to do.
Washington's going to do. I mean, Derek Carr should be there, and they just hired Clint Kubiak as offense coordinator there. So I imagine the Saints will be running some sort of wide zone play action scheme. And
Is
then, I
Gina?
mean, okay, so look, like just from I guess somewhere between the Minnesota Denver area going up, like this is how competitive it gets. So Vegas, we're not sure on. Indy, we're not sure on. Jacksonville was good for the majority of the year. New Orleans defensively was good, and then should be better on offense. Seattle, Cincy, Green Bay, Tampa, Pittsburgh, some other team, Houston, Miami, Philly. Like, I mean, just look at what we're looking at. Like, so so it's it just, why would they have not been able to pull it off this year? You know, like they could have won a Super Bowl this year, and I could have not watched football next year and not really worried about it. But look at, I mean, Houston's going to be better. The Rams, I mean, the Rams played within 10 the first game against 49ers this year.
7.
I don't know. It's just the league is young and the league is talented, and the window is closing for San Francisco, or this particular window, not the window overall, but this particular window is closing. And the fact that they've got 8 playoff wins, which is second only to Kansas City's 15, and no Super Bowl, is just, it's a pain in the ass. Is all it is. It's just a pain in the ass.
Mm-mm-mm.
I'm gonna get into lacrosse.
There you go. Or now hear me out. I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but March 30th, there is a spring football league that kicks off.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here, dude.
maybe you could get into that.
Yeah, Stallions all the way, bro. I'm here. I'm here
know.
for it. I'm here for it. Let's go. They sell giant Modelos. I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Of course,
But then,
the
then
30th
you,
they're on the road.
well, and
But
of course, they'll back to back, and then as soon as I get like real hardcore into it, they'll drop this one, the one that matters.
yeah. No, I like their chances going in. They've got a lot of pieces returning from that roster. And actually, Gates from the Bears, he was on the first championship team. He's coming back. I can't think of his first name.
Antonio, is he a tight end?
No.
Former basketball player.
So Matt Corral helming it now too, right?
No.
Not Matt Corral.
It'll be it'll probably be Jamar Smith to begin with. He's been with Skip Holtz since he was a freshman at La Tech and went 4 years through La Tech and it's going on year 3 with the Stallions.
Gotcha.
So he's going on 7 years with Skip. I think he gets the nod to begin with. Because it's Jamar Smith, Matt Corral, I think Morton. But he was kind of the second string kind of guy after Jamar Smith got hurt. But he was more their third string guy. I can't remember if Kyle Sloter is still there or not. I think he moved on. But yeah, we got Chase Sternberger's coming back. Our Bo should be healthy this year. Defensive side of the ball, we should be pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. we got the pieces there. We got some extra stuff. I think it's actually going to be, whittling down that roster during camp is going to be really tough. And another thing, AJ McCarron asked to be released from the Bengals so he can go back to see St. Louis. I wish he would have came here, but
well, I
just
appreciate
having him in the league is a good thing just for the league, I think.
Well, and I appreciate that his whole stance is like I'm going to do that so my kids can see me play type thing.
Yep.
That's
I've always loved it, even though a lot of the rumors I've heard about him are pretty true from what I've heard. That he can be quite the dick. He may have grown up though. Baker grew up, so maybe McCarron did too.
I choose to not believe that.
I don't know why. Actually, I wasn't even going down that route, but I was until you said something. But yeah. Anyways, I
appreciate it.
I heard he's got Bama Boy BOI tattooed on his chest.
He's got a big old chest tattoo.
Yeah, like come on, dude.
And you can't trust him. Can't trust big ass chest tattoo.
Never trust a man with no shirt on.
He seems like an all right guy. I guess I don't know anything about him. I do like that he said I could be playing in the NFL and making more money, but my kids want to see me play, so he plays for played for whichever league before it was United now. So I'm behind it. Good for him.
I just wish Alex Magoo could come back. Can the Packers just loan him to us? Hockey does that all the time. They loan their players out to minor leagues.
Well, and this something that might end up, not necessarily that it would end up being able to loan or whatever, but it is supposed to kind of be a minor league for the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So like that would be, especially it's the off season and he's not their number 2 in Green Bay, right?
No, he's not.
Yeah, so like you should just be contractually allowed to go and play for Birmingham or whoever. I mean, specifically Birmingham for our sake, but
Oh, I forgot about this one. The saddest thing about the Super Bowl is no Ladybug tramp stamp for Santana.
I was pulling for it, man. Like I was thinking Ladybug the whole time, and then as it dwindled down, and again, like I think that we all knew what was happening that last situation, that last drive, and I was like thinking like, well, there goes the tramp stamp, which we all needed and wanted.
Ono will be so upset. I bet that's what you were thinking.
That's what I was thinking.
That was the only thing you were thinking. Like,
Yeah.
Oh no, I can't get the Ladybug tramp stamp.
Yeah, I threw my drink down and I said, shoot. Shoot. And I don't like to use foul language. Gosh darn it. And I'm not one for foul language, so
I had some mock-ups sketched and everything.
I'm not
Just
I'm
that
not
close.
I'm not overly against it still. It would have meant more had we won, but it is still neat to have that NFC Championship win on a Ladybug. All right, let's move on, guys.
You'll get over it in a minute, or not in a minute, but a couple days.
Let's just move on.
Just be happy that it's this is kind of the end of the fall football season, because for me it was always when Alabama lost like in the national championship or something, like I wouldn't even watch NFL playoffs. That's how like just disgruntled and like just down. Like I was like, I'm done. I'm done right now. I can't even watch playoff stuff.
I haven't listened to the next round, and that's my show. Yep. I haven't listened to Pat McAfee. I haven't done anything. Rich Eisen, like these guys that I look forward to hearing their takes. I haven't listened to any of that shit. I talked to Kenyatta the next morning, kind of, and we talked a little bit today, kind of, and that's really been it. Like this one was a rough one, and it's not going away anytime soon. But this helped, and I look forward to next week's episode. I will hopefully be able to bring a lot of draft related knowledge and conversation to that particular episode, because now we can relax. It sucks. I'm hurt, but I can relax and move on and on to next year, and hopefully we can talk some NFL draft, and I can give you some educated information about whatever you want to know.
All right, sounds good. But anyway, if y'all don't have anything else, I'd say we kind of end this one a little early and gear up for next week. Final thoughts, any Cunyato? You look like you want to say something.
Oh, no. I was just about to agree with you. I mean, this seems like a good point to end it on.
We were robbed.
I showed that picture earlier. The illegal man downfield.
The illegal man downfield.
Two of them.
I can't.
Okay.
Okay.
You open up a whole new can of worms there.
And we'll be here another hour.
Yeah. No, all in all, I think we got to experience one of the better Super Bowls I've seen in my lifetime, maybe the best. Sucks that our buddy here was on the wrong end of it. But it's one season out of many, and I don't think that Shanahan, my final thought, I guess, is I don't think that Kyle Shanahan, that is, and the Niners are going anywhere anytime soon. They've got a lot of free agency and some of the rookie contracts that are expiring, and some of that drama that we can address in the upcoming weeks, not to mention the draft. And I don't know. We get a lot of fun stuff coming up. And
Future defense coordinator position, which we didn't touch on tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they let go of Wilkes, so we'll see who they replace him with. Not to mention just some of the other coaching vacancies that have been filled that are a bit surprising throughout the league. Some of the college football coaching movements that have been made that are surprising. Specifically, and we don't have to get into this right now, but a literal head coach in the same league moved from head coach to offensive coordinator into offensive coordinator position in that same league. So the landscape is changing drastically in the NCAA. And then obviously there's some ripple effect kind of going on throughout the NFL because of that. Arguably the greatest coach of all time is out of a job. And is it because he wants too much control? This is Bill Belichick that I'm talking about. Or is it because his age? Is it because they think that the game's passing by? I don't know. But we still have a lot of stuff to talk about. But I think we've recapped the big one to the best of our ability. And what it all boiled down to was two really good teams playing a really good game, right down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's my final thoughts.
Kanye West song.
Well, alrighty. Well, it was a fun show. Thank you, everyone, for contributing in the chat. Everybody watching. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button down at the bottom, down below, and subscribe if you haven't. And hit that bell so you can get notified every time we go live. And we will see you next week at around 7 Central again. Y'all have a good week.
Appreciate it.
See you then.